New standards are being set, and this is actually really, really fascinating. I'm not saying fascinating as in good or bad. I'm just saying something has just happened. Athletes with high testosterone can be barred from women's sports. Apparently, I don't know much about this individual, but they believe this woman is intersex and therefore shouldn't be competing in women's sports. And this presents a serious conundrum in the trans athlete argument, debate, whatever you want to call it. Now, of course, the people on the far left and many, not all, some trans activists will claim a debate means you're questioning our existence. No, it just means we need to figure out what the rules are for sporting events. And this is something that is going to set the rules. Apparently, they're going to set a limit on testosterone. Track athletes with high levels of testosterone will have to take suppressants if they want to compete in women's sports, according to a Wednesday court ruling from the highest court in international sports. The Swiss Court of Arbitration for Sport decided 2-1 that though restrictions on testosterone levels can be discriminatory, such discrimination is necessary, reasonable, and proportionate means, of ensuring the fairness of female track and field competitions, the New York Times reported. The case was brought to international attention after two-time Olympic champion Caster Semenya challenged testosterone limits for female athletes. The South African runner is widely believed to be intersex, a term defined by the United Nations as people born with sex characteristics that do not fit typical binary notions of male or female bodies. She won the 800 meter, apparently. The court ruling was a victory for the International Association of Athletics Federations. The IAAF had said that competitors with differences of sexual development, specifically athletes born as men with male genital parts and increased levels of testosterone, have unfair advantages in regards to muscle mass strength and oxygen carrying capacity, according to the New York Times. This is a ruling based on someone who is, my understanding is female, although they say wildly believed to be intersex. But women who have more testosterone are going to face restrictions now as we expand these regulations. This is really interesting because think about this. There could be someone who is completely biologically female who just naturally has more testosterone. They're going to do well. Listen, when it comes to sporting events, we don't restrict how tall someone can be in the NBA. We don't restrict how big someone's hands have to be in the MMA. We just say, generally, here's a man, here's a woman. Which means in basketball, everybody's tall and really tall. It makes sense. That's how it works. Doing testosterone restrictions is typically an argument seen by the trans community, where I don't want to say everybody because there are many trans people who are very sane and have reasonable arguments. And there are a few fringe activists that are loud and vocal, and the far left, regressive left, you get it. But the issue is, now you're going to set restrictions for this whole argument on actual women. So maybe intersex people, maybe actual women, now they have, like, this woman back here, let's just say her for instance. What if her testosterone is too high? Now she can't compete? I think that's where you get crazy. Where will she compete? It's not like she's going to be able to compete in the men's division. The court said there was a lack of evidence that athletes with increased levels of testosterone have unfair advantages in both the 1500 meter race and the mile, according to the newspaper. This could allow Semenya 28 to run 1500 meter races without taking suppressants. That's interesting. Wow, the court said there was a lack of evidence. So now everything's getting confusing, but it's not just there. So that was kind of the lead. I don't want to just beat around the bush. Let's take a look at the larger piece. I'm not going to read through everything, but this gets into something more specific called DSD, which my understanding is difference in sexual development. So they're saying it's discriminatory to target women with this. Caster Semenya loses landmark legal case against IAAF over testosterone levels. So we went through all the basics. It means Semenya will have to take medication to reduce her testosterone if she wants to run internationally at events between 400 meters and a mile. The surprise verdict, which was announced by the Court of Arbitration for Sport after 3 arbitrators had spent more than 2 months deliberating over the complex and highly contentious case, came even though Cass agreed that the IAAF's policy was discriminatory to athletes with differences in sexual development, DSD, such as Semenya. However, 2 of 3 arbitrators accepted IAAF's argument that high testosterone in female athletes confers significant advantages in size, strength, and power from puberty onwards. Let's just stop here, full stop. It is agreed upon by the IAAF, and the court believes there is evidence that testosterone in female athletes confers significant advantages in size, strength, and power from puberty onwards, and said the policy was necessary, reasonable, and proportionate to ensure fair competition in women's sport. This applies to trans people, not just DSD, which means the argument, the testosterone argument, is now going to have profound implications on everything. People on the left, this is mind-numbing stuff, I gotta tell you. They argue black women tend to have higher bone density and muscle mass than white women. Should we set restrictions based on race? Then they also argue that race doesn't exist, so I'm really confused. But no, a woman is a woman. When it comes to marathon running, Kenyans really do win all the time. Why is that? Why specifically Kenya? I don't know. But we just say, enter the race, run, and the best of the best win. That's how it works. Putting a chemical restriction on individuals, in my opinion, it's actually kind of scary. Because now you're going to tell women, take a suppressant. You got too much testosterone. We don't like the way you look. How is this? The left is arguing for discriminatory practices. They want to judge individuals based on immutable characteristics. Semenya can't do anything. Semenya runs. Fine. It's fine. I'm fine with it. But now this argument about discrimination, Semenya's argument was the trans argument that testosterone isn't conferring an advantage. Well, I don't even know what's going on anymore. Let's read on. This means that all DSD athletes who are usually born with testes will have to reduce their testosterone to below 5 nmol per liter for at least 6 months if they want to compete internationally at distances ranging from 400 meters to a mile. The IAAF, which welcomed the news, said the policy would come into place on 8th of May. This can only lead to one thing, okay? This will eventually bring us to a point where we're going to have racial bone density. Okay, hold on. What about the bone density? Bone density allows for better training, less likelihood of injury. Should they have to take some kind of chemical that saps their bones of calcium? Where does it end? Right? This is what gets so crazy. I admit there's an inherent challenge for trans athletes and intersex athletes or DSD athletes. I don't know what the solution is, but I don't think this is the right answer. This seems to be short-sighted. And it's only going to end up being contradictory and confusing to most people because the left is arguing for two things at once. I have no idea. Semenya who has long argued that her unique genetic gifts should be celebrated, not regulated, confirmed that she was considering an appeal and insisted that she believed the DSD regulations would one day be overturned. I know that the IAAF's regulations have always targeted me specifically. For a decade, the IAAF has tried to slow me down, but this has actually made me stronger. The decision of the CAS will not hold me back. I will once again rise above and continue to inspire young women and athletes in South Africa and around the world. The sports scientist Ross Tucker, who was part of Semenya's team of experts, at CAS last month, believes it will mean the South African will run the 800 meter around 7 seconds slower. Wow. Turning her from a world beater into an also ran at the event. However, she may decide to step up to the 5,000 meter where the IAAF's rules on DSD athletes do not apply. Explaining its verdict, CAS said that Semenya's team had been unable to prove the IAAF's policy was invalid during the 5-day tribunal in February, and crucially, it ruled that discrimination in sport is legal provided it is justified. That is huge. Discrimination is legal if they can justify it. Oh my God. This is a really, really bad idea. Discrimination should not be legal. There's no justification for it, in my opinion. For the most, actually, I take that back. Man, I have no idea what's going on anymore. You shouldn't discriminate in sport. But then we have the problem with trans athletes. And yes, it is a problem. I'm not trying to be offensive. It is what it is. A trans woman, biologically male with more muscle mass, shattering world records, were reported the other day. I did a video about it. That is unfair to biological females. A DSD runner competing against biological females may actually be unfair as well. I don't know what the solution is. All I know is it's not fair, and how you make it fair, I have no idea. It's true that for a lot of sports, we set the rules. You know, we decide that men and women should compete in separate divisions, mostly because men are faster, stronger, physically, and so it's an issue of where do we draw the line, right? We have to draw a line somewhere. Men and women are different. What do we do then for DSD athletes and trans athletes? I honestly don't know. I don't think this makes sense. It was a 165-page ruling. We'll just wrap things up. Sometimes it's better to react with no reaction, says Semenya. They say, During the 5-day hearing last month, the IAAF maintained that its policy was solely about creating a level playing field for all women. Copy editor, come on, guys. So that success was based on talent and hard work. A key part of its case was that more than 99% of females have around 0.12 to 1.79 nmol of testosterone in their bodies, while DSDs like Semenya are in the male range of 7.7 to 29.4. So I can understand that. I'll tell you what, though. Let's say you're a woman and you're at the low end of that spectrum. You can actually take testosterone now, not that they would want to, if you want to win. You can boost yourself up to 1.79. And I will also point out, maybe that is it's not fair. If she's got 6 to 7 times testosterone, maybe that's not fair and something should be done about it. But you know what? All I can do is highlight this because it's all damn confusing. And you can tell me what you think in the comments below, and I will leave it at that. I will see you guys tomorrow on this channel at 10 a.m. Adios.